another one.
I have a software idea or an application that I want to build, but I'm not sure where to get started. I have the final idea. I have my UI, my UX design and everything like that, but I don't know how to actually get started building the software. Do I go out there and I hire a front end designer? Do I hire a, back end developer? What do I do? I just don't know. So let's get to it then. All right. So here is my advice to you, right? The problem with when we have ideas, right? We see the end goal, right? So we'll have like, okay, I'll give you an example. I have this mobile app that I wanted to, calculate the distance of, or here it goes. I have this mobile app where I wanted to be able to find me parking on South Beach, right? Tell me what parking is available, whatever, right? And I have this nice design, and like when I go into the app, it's gonna do this, that, whatever, right? So now, what do I do? Okay, so I took a front end class, right? Front end development class, and like, okay, I created the design, or maybe you hired somebody to create a design for you, and whatever the case may be, right? But here is where I believe most ideas, especially when it comes to websites or applications or whatever it is, right? Whether it's a desktop application, a web application, a mobile application, right? Whatever the type of application is, this is where I believe most ideas go to die. The graveyard of ideas is you don't know the software development principles, right? So you think that, well, there's another thing too, which I'll touch on, but you think that, okay, I have this design and I'm going to build Rome in one day. No, it's not going to happen because you need to, whatever you're trying to build, right? And like even if you're not building software, like let's say you're building a house, there's a plan to building a house. You're not like, oh, I'm just gonna go out and buy this today and buy that tomorrow, and then we have a house built. No, there's a project manager, there's budgets, and there's everything like that. There's time frames and everything, right? So the problem is that we just try to do stuff without having any organizational principles, right? So what do I mean by that, right? What's your MVP? What the what? What does MVP even mean? What's my most valuable player? What? This is basketball? It's NFL. I know it says Tech Coach Ralph, but what are you talking about? No, 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 no. MVP is minimum viable product. What's your MVP? You need to have something that you can start off with, right? And maybe you don't know the history of Twitter. I'll tell you real quick, right? From my understanding, Twitter was started as an internal communication application for whoever, I think it was Jeff Dorsey, whoever was it that was there, right? Who was, or Jack Dorsey, but whoever was there, right? Who were, like it was an internal tool. And then, as like more people, like they made it public and then more people, you started using it, and it became to what it is today, right? But I don't think what Twitter is today is what the original intention was when they started it, who knows how long ago, right? From an internal little tool to what it is today, right? So your software idea, it can change like that, right? Because who dictates the software? Is it you? What you want? Because it could be what you want and nobody uses it and you just have a software for yourself and you spend a lot of time and money on it. Or is it the customers who dictate? But how do you have the customers dictate what to build, right? That's by the MVP, the minimum viable product, the general idea of what you want to put out there. And then based on feedback from the stakeholders, which are your customers, you continue to build and develop based on that, right? your product can have a total shift. But what is more important? Your product being successful or your product being exactly what you wanted, where it just becomes a personal product, right? So what I would say is like you need to work in increments, study Scrum, study Agile, work in increments and say, all right, here is the one flow that I believe will be valuable and add value. And let me find a way to get that built. And then you break it down into smaller pieces where you're like, okay, now that I have so this is what our one flow is going to be. All right, let me build the first part of the flow. Let me build the second part of the flow. Let me connect those two, right? And now I have working software. It might just do one thing, but it's more than it did yesterday, right? So you have to build the very first part first, right? First part first, duh, right? You have to build that. And you get those integrated. And now you're like, okay, cool, this works, right? That means you have to get it tested. You have to get it developed. You have to get it tested, right? Got to get it deployable, right? Not deplorable, but deployable, okay? And then you look, okay, I would strongly recommend you learn the principles of Agile. We're going through them on Thursday nights, the principles of Agile. Learn the principles of Agile. Learn Scrum. Learn how to write a user story. If you want to build your own software, it's not just, oh, I have a layout. Great. No. It doesn't work that way. You have to have user stories. You need to, because if not, it's going to become unmanageable, right? Have your stories, have your plan, manage the project, right? To get something delivered. And then once it's delivered, you put it out there, you see how it hits, you make modifications based on that, you get feedback, and then you build based on that, you iterate based on that, but you don't try to do everything. Like you don't spend 2 years building a software. Not today anymore. You got to get to market fast, put something out there and build it based on the feedback that you get. The other day I was hearing different business ideas and stuff, and I'm like, man, these are great ideas, but I hope they don't go to the graveyard of dreams. All right. So let's see what Don says real quick before we end this question. Don says, software is still open for the game of telephone. You ask for a cupcake and at the end you get a pork chop covered in chocolate if you don't check in and verify each stage of the process. Well, pork chop covered in chocolate might not necessarily sound all that bad. But on that note,
if you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.